afternoon, YouTube. Good morning, depending on at. This is man always your page, aka the Emperor of Female Bobby Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, we're starting to another week. Can you believe it? We just started a new month. This is another week. We just got finished with a couple of shows. Um, we have a couple of competitors who just got their Olympia qualification. I want to give a shout out to those ladies, Young Hung, who won the Omaha Pro, also Anne Baran, who won the Zora Rotar in Southern California. Congratulations, ladies, going to the Olympia. So folks, I'm always interested in somebody's story and their path what got them started sport of bodybuilding. This lovely lady here, and I mean lovely lady, she is an amateur competitor in bikini. And also, she is a doctor and a vegan. And we are going to welcome the lovely Dr. Danielle Mincey White. And I would like to say thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here to share my story.
Well, appreciate that. So I'm going to ask you two questions. The first question is, what got you started in sport, as I call it, muscle masculinity? And the second one is, what kind of doctor are you? Are a good old-fashioned country doctor, a sawbone or something? What's your specialty, doc?
Okay, first question, what got me involved in bodybuilding, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I was 51 years old. It was 2014. I had been teaching at the University of North Florida in sport management. So that lets you know that's where my PhD is, from Florida State University. And so working out and teaching fitness classes at approximately about 6 or 7 different gyms in the area. And I recognized that my old competitive spirit as a sprinter had never died. And which means that I like the cycles of training. I love the pre-season. I like the season training. I like post-season training. I love the discipline of it, the meal prepping, all of it. So in 2014, with less than 3 weeks of preparation and no coaching, I jumped into the Clearwater Supernatural as a figure competitor. Had no idea on how to how to pose or anything like that, but I watched the competitors in front of me and went out there and did something. And I placed third. So I was hooked. And then after that, I did go over into bikini because when I did speak to, some coaches, they let me know my body composition is not, I would have to really put on a lot of weight, and that's just not me. So that's how I wound up in bikini.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, everybody, especially in sport of bodybuilding, try to figure out what works best for them. Sometimes genetics is a factor. Some women can put on muscle like that. Some takes a little longer. I think some women have that more natural build for a certain division.
Yes.
Bikini's been around for quite some time. I've been a fan of bodybuilding for a long time. And when the women were competing, with just exclusively women's bodybuilding. And then here comes fitness and figure, and bikini came along, physique, and a couple of divisions. There's one division that's, as I'm talking to town, is fit model, excuse me. I call it the bastard division. I'm not a particular fan of it, but I understand the purpose of it, what reason why it exists. So anyway, and the second question, so you have a PhD. What was your PhD in?
My PhD is in sport administration from Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State. Go Seminoles. So
yes,
shout out to them. The late Bobby.
Yeah, I worked with football and some basketball because my area of expertise is in sport performance and at risk. Those athletes that people said, well, you know what, they're really great athletes, but we're going to have a problem keeping them probably eligible. Well, in my career, I never had an ineligible athlete because I taught them the ins and outs of being a student athlete at the university level. So that's what I was doing.
That's good. Thank you, doctor, because especially our young athletes need the educational understanding, being health and wellness, also, understanding school. Because back in the day, you remember back in the day when you used to just put you in school and just put you for the football, that's it. Don't give you understanding of what you need to learn, especially if you get out there in the real world.
Yes. And I'm going to say that it's even more prevalent now with NIL. There needs to be another layer added to the whole NIL structure, meaning teaching financial literacy, establishing foundations for tax purposes, establishing, entrepreneurship routes so that, again, athletes don't go broke when their playing days are over. And in the case of NIL, that when they're no longer considered a, marketable brand.
For us laymen who don't know, what is the terminology of NIL for us who don't?
Name, image, and likeness. That's where you hear about the athletes, and a lot of the talk is that NIL has damaged college sports because athletes are now making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars based off of their name, image, and likeness. So
Okay.
that's what NIL stands for.
Yeah, because a lot of games use the image of players. Like I don't play. I like when we kids used to play video games. I wasn't much for the sports game. My younger brothers, my younger nephews, they loved those games. I was more like the fighting, shooting games like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's the thing. And those athletes, they're the ones that I think they do need to help because people can take advantage of that. A lot of football players end up. Like there was a one story of a guy who played in the NFL for years and didn't know how to weed. Many guys end up broke because they didn't know how to spend their money. Even like you saw recently, boxer, Money Mayweather, he's going broke because he goes out there going to strip clubs like that. And then you look at somebody like Oscar De La Hoya, who's a little more smart and understanding of what he want to do with his money.
And it becomes a process. Well, I advocate for teaching is during youth sports, teaching life skills during youth sports, because one of the things that I will say is that athletes are high achievers, regardless of what people may think, because it takes a lot of intellectual capacity in order to know what play to run on a basketball court. If you're the point guard, you have to be able to know what play to run. That means that you've been studying the plays, you've been studying film, you've been studying your various opponents. That's something that the normal person cannot do. Mm-hmm. They can't know in a split second on what to do.
Yeah, I was used to. I was used. I played football a couple of years in high school, but then I got a job, so that's money became more valuable than playing football.
Yes, and that's great, very much understandable.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, what's that experience like for you? That first time be on stage, you got to think about it. You're a woman of mature age, and you're competing against girls maybe half your age, and you're out there in your little bikini, and and let me ask, was your man looking like your husband or something? Like was he?
Before I got involved with bodybuilding, I was a pageant queen from age 12 to 27. So the stage is like my second breath. And even though I may not have known how to pose, because initially when I first started in bikini, Masters was over 30. And I can remember being at a show and asking the young ladies, like, well, how old are you? And they were all just over 30. And I was like, oh, well, and I was 51. Okay. And my philosophy has always been, I've been walking in heels longer than you've been alive. So whether I get it right or not, they gonna know I was there because mama gonna strut. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, okay. Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and it's been a transition because pageantry is very much different from bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's more of you got a presentation, you walk on air, but then with bodybuilding, you have to be a certain look, a certain development. With bikini, what I learned, it's, I think, a lot harder to maintain because you can't really grow in that division compared to the others. Like if you do figure or you do women's bodybuilding, you can't really grow as much.
What do you mean by that?
Well, like, for one thing, if you look at the divisions now, like women's bodybuilding, physique, and even figure, ladies can grow and evolve over time. Mm-hmm. But with bikini, is like not a lot of room for so much for growth. It's more a maintenance thing.
No, bikini is very much like the other divisions. You grow, you develop because you get the feedback from the coaches on the areas that you need to work on. And it depends on what the look is. What are judges more likely to award pro cards or pros win in? Is it broader shoulder caps? Is it tighter, the tie-ins with the glutes? So the physique aesthetic of bikini is just as intense as it is in figure, not the muscularity so much, but even that is evolving. That's the
Mhm.
reason why, the division that you coughed on, that's the reason why
I,
fit model is there.
I ain't
Okay.
cough, man. I ain't cough. That's
Oh,
that's.
okay.
I ain't gonna.
Sorry.
I ain't do no. Not like an old man. I mean, again, I understand that, but the
Fit
problem is like
model,
anything.
yeah, because fit model is there because, and just so you give you some background, what fit model is today is what bikini was back when
10
I
years ago.
started.
10
Yes,
years ago. Yeah,
okay.
I'm aware of
Even
that.
the posing, even the posing is the same. So just like bikini has evolved, fit model will evolve, but the whole aspect of fit model is not to be as muscular as bikini. Bikini not as muscular and bottom legs and glutes as wellness, and then so forth and so on. So there are demarcations for each division.
Yeah, because like one thing is like there's women right now who are moving down from bikini into fit model, and I think that might change the aspect because that happened with women's physique. We saw women coming down from bodybuilding to that division. Bring those same aesthetics, the fullness of capness, the styration, the glutes, and then right now just there's a controversy where this young lady who just competed at a show for Olympic qualification. If you know her, Sarah Bradley, some say she looks more like women's bodybuilding than she does actually physique. And
Okay.
yeah, it's just again it goes by how the guidelines are being thin like this. So
and, and you have to be aware. I mean, you have to be mindful of the fact that each show brings a different different competitors of different body compositions, and they're being judged according to what is there.
mhm,
Okay, so it's not like judges have this mindset of where is number 555, is she the same as number 563 from the show 6 weeks ago? No, totally. It's a whole new slate.
mhm. Well, thank you for this prospect. Because I am an outsider looking in, man. I'm just still getting educated bit by bit. So anyway, so your last time you competed was at the North Americans, and you
Yes.
were doing 60 plus. And again, I look at this woman and say, I mean, I don't. I thought she was a little bit younger than me because I'll be 52 in November, and
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah. I had the pleasure of not having children and a woman, so I don't age it fast. So
Oh wow. Now see, my dad would say, my dad, if he was still alive, he lived to be 90. He passed 10 days before his 92nd birthday, but he would tell you that having daughters, three daughters, was the pinnacle of his life, and with his grandchildren. Yes. So that led to a long, successful life.
where my mom she passed away too, and she had three daughters and three boys, and that my parents were together for a long time, even though they were living in separate places. But
Right.
yeah, children are a pleasure. I have nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews. I love them, but that's one of my greats as a man, not having one of my own. So you have a family. So what's
Yes.
what's your family like? Or how are your kids? What they doing?
Oh
And
wow.
again, do you have a man? So I just I wouldn't want to be hitting on you too much.
I'm currently single. Divorced for the past 17 years, I think. I lost count. But from that union, we had three children: 40, 33, soon to be 34, and 29. And then my grandson will be 16 on June 16th. So yes.
Well, that's your. Which one is this? It's your daughter's son.
Yeah, my oldest daughter. It's her son.
Yeah. Well, tell him. Remember to put a boy in his place and beat him down, like because because the 16 think like my shit don't stick. No, beat him down, put him in place.
Now
Yeah.
he's pretty grounded. He's a really intelligent kid. He's pretty grounded. His dad is, both his parents are former military, so it's not like that. They're just going to be loose with the structure. That and besides, that's my grandson.
Yeah.
Even
That's
when
it.
he was a
Yeah.
baby, I was instilling structure. Okay.
Well, my mother, she raised my two older nephews, and that's the thing about grandparents, y'all. You beat on us kids, but then you treat the babies like they're special, like they're like like, well, why don't you give us say much love, mama? Why you give him all that love? I'm your child. No, he's special. He's special. He's special.
Well, that is a point. That is something that my children talk about is, where was all of this patience when we were growing up? And my response is the beauty, and I actually said this, my daughter reminds me of this often, because I was present at his birth. I was literally there. Okay. And, the first thing I said was, it's all about him now. You all are, it's all about him. Okay.
Y'all grandparents, y'all make me sick sometimes. But anyway, but back to your like, it's the thing about this sport. It's a lot to do and compete, especially for a woman. The mentality of it, the training regimental. People don't understand about bodybuilding, especially from the outside. They look at it like I just pop some magical pills and I just get big. I'll be like yolk. But there's more to it. Like especially you're doing it naturally, which is I think was a lot harder because it takes you more time to put on
Yes.
the size
Yes.
and also the conditioning compared to the enhanced competitors.
Yes, it does take longer, but I'm of the mindset that I'm not putting anything in my body that I don't know what the long-term effects are going to be, or if there is scientific evidence that the long-term effects are detrimental. So that's the reason why, again, it aligns with how I view my body. And for me, bodybuilding is more of a spiritual practice than it is about the aesthetics of it. Because from each prep brings out aspects of myself that I need to address, whether it is, the walk, because one of the things that I recognize is that the walk that a female bodybuilder utilizes on stage in that little bikini is a walk that growing up, girl, you better not have your, sticking your chest out and your butt poked out. What's wrong with you? You were raised better than that. So, and really, when I first started, that was a tape running in my head. It was like, wow, they really implanted that about how a proper girl carries herself. Okay. A properly raised girl carries herself. But when it comes to bodybuilding, it's not about, the sexualization. I recently saw a question somewhere on social media about is bodybuilding over sexualized? And perhaps to outsiders, it does look sexual. However, to those of us who train and train our bodies in the gym and then pose endlessly in those heels, no, it has nothing to do with sexualization. It's all about physique and presentation and getting up there with the best package that you have worked for anywhere from 16 to 20 weeks to be on stage for one show. So
that thing is because I think with y'all who are in the sport, you don't see it sexual. Again, it goes back to us on the outside, especially
correct.
like for you see guys wear a pair of banana hammocks and board short half naked, and you see women like y'all in little bikini little suits, y'all glazed up and y'all tanning, you smiling, and then you get some freak out there saying, who's that tall drink of water on the stage, because again, like anything, especially society mindset can be sexualized. Like people think like, I've seen comments when I post stuff, I have guys talking about that's a dude, that's a man, yada yada. And I'm saying, what do you see that you think is a man? This is a lovely, like if she's like, even with a woman like yourself, if you see any kind of muscle that is not considered very feminine, then say she's all man, hell no. But then there's some freaks can be a little weird saying, yeah, I like her, she kind of excites me. But come on, guys, calm down. This is a lovely lady.
Yeah.
Be respectful. But again,
Yeah.
it's so easy to take something and twist it in a way, the fundamentals of a sport. And goes back to the consistency, the persistence, the patience, the determination, and everything that's involved in as you grow. Like you talk about your coach, it's what's his name and how long y'all been together?
Calvin Williams is my coach, Building Buddies. And I actually reached out to him. It would have been like December of 2024. And I was going to walk in the Angel competition bikini because I'm an ambassador for Angel competition bikini. And I was going to walk in the Angel fashion show at the Arnold in Columbus, Ohio. And I wanted to train to walk the show. Okay. And so Calvin, he hits me back and he says, "So you're only doing a fashion show?" And then I was like, it doesn't make sense for me not to compete. If I'm going to lift and meal prep so that I can look like I'm going to be in the show, I might as well be in the show. And it was great because I went to the Ohio, I'm an alum of the Ohio State University. So going back home to Columbus, well, my home is Cincinnati, but going back to my second home of Columbus, Ohio, to actually compete in the Arnold, which actually started while I was an undergrad at Ohio State. It was a full circle moment and it felt great. And I placed second. So yeah, it was great.
Well, I used to be a big fan of the Arnold Classic till he pushed out women's bodybuilding, women's physique and figure. I was a fan of his movies, like Arnold. Like if you killed it, he would bleed. But then I heard his stance when it comes down to certain divisions, like women's bodybuilding physique. He's not a big much of a fan, of it. But it's his business. It's his company where he want to do it's fine. But I feel like it's not a representation of all divisions. I mean, if you limit it to as I call them, the TNA divisions, high heel divisions, like bikini and wellness. He still has fitness, but that's only there because I think it's more of a exciting, dynamic division compared to the others. It's a tough division because you have to jump around, move around, do a lot of chicken sweat, and still come on a presentation where some of those ladies have great muscle development and great physiques.
Well, and I think you have to reframe it. Remember, I'm a professor of sport management. That's the business end of sports. So you have to look at the fact that with the exclusion of women's bodybuilding, correct? Okay. You have to ask yourself, okay, bodybuilding and physique. You have to ask yourself, what's the number of competitors that register to compete at each show? Then you look flip side over here with the emergence of Fit Model. Nowadays, I know at the North Americans, I want to say that there were at least, oh gosh, let's put it like this. Fit Model had the most competitors on the female side. Okay. So if you look at it from a balance sheet perspective, are you going to only have one or two competitors in both bodybuilding and physique? What if people are, and if this is a qualifying show for a pro card, neither of those two numbers is going to be awarded a pro card because they don't have the minimum number of competitors. So I say reframe it to what led to the decrease in competitors in women's bodybuilding and women's physique, which led to these business decisions.
Well, I know it's business, but still, I remember there was still a lot of number of ladies coming to those shows. It's really more like because it goes back to his preference of it. I know in those later years it was getting kind of low, and then it is still having amateur levels because we have to at least the minimum of 5 competitors. Correct. In a class, and then you do overall, you win the pro card. Mm-hmm. Ma'am, I said again, I'm aware of my surroundings at all time, Madam Wayne. So but to me as a fan, I feel like it's like a slap in the face to a division that's been around for a long time. It really is the architect for everything else. It wasn't for women's bodybuilding, fitness wouldn't be around, physique wouldn't be around, figure wouldn't be around. Even somewhat in a way, I would say bikini was brought in for a reason to get more seats, more attention. I interviewed 2 ladies who did the Universe a couple of years ago, and it was 600 competitors at that show in bikini. 600. But again, it's a money game because you make more money from the number of competitors and amateurs you do for the pros. Pros just got to sign, other than masters, where you still have to pay and compete. The pros just sign a contract, and you compete. Shout out to my man Ryan Lake coming through. He want to say hello Ryan, thank you for coming through, brother. I appreciate you. So folks, while we got here, the lovely doctor. We're going to do this. We're going to jump through social media for a minute. She's over at IG. You want to follow her. She has a link. She also has her Living Nation. Living Nation is right there, the shirt. So you want to check her out. She has provided ideas, plans. Well, work with her. She's a lovely lady. She's the voice lady. So yeah. So I just, but guys, You know, I know many of you guys, you like the big buff girls. I know it's your favorite, but still, this is a lady. We be respectful. Reach out in genuine interest. She got kids. She got a grandbaby. We don't want no problems. You sick freaks. So we're
And
gonna
I'm
jump
a
in.
July Cancer, so we can be visceral at the mouth, like cut you down real low.
Well, you
Have
know
you go
about
back to asking your mother, why did she even bother? Because your life
yeah.
no longer has purpose.
Ooh. Yeah, well, you know about us Scorpios. We're like a little bit on the same
Yes,
side.
my oldest daughter is a Scorpio, so yes, I do know. But the
Yeah.
July Cancers, we are very observant. We recognize patterns and we engage accordingly.
All right. So you heard it from here, her. So y'all better act right. So we're gonna jump into her social media. So you want to follow the links in the description of this live. And this is the video that I saw because I said, you know what? As I'm on IG quite often because that's why we stuff's going on. I want to be able to be aware. And this is a video that I saw and really got my attention about her. You know, plus her body.
Reduce menopause symptoms. Danielle is a 62-year-old vegan bikini athlete. She's been lifting since high school. She's been plant-based since 2010, and she went through menopause with almost no symptoms. Everyone called her an outlier, but the science says she may not be. There are 3 things working in her favor, and all 3 have evidence. First, the muscle. A 2025 study of 407 women found that for every unit increase in muscle mass index, menopausal symptom severity dropped by 1.6 points.
Hello, Dr. Danielle here. Go to my website and join the Living Nation movement. Subscribing to the newsletter, you will receive a free sample plan that prioritizes your strength, boosting your metabolism, plant-based food sources that increase your estrogen and progesterone as you navigate menopause. Go now.
Does muscle mass.
Yeah, I know quite a few ladies who compete who deal with postpartum or menopause because as you know, women, your biology is totally different from us men. We are to say it like this: men, our life is to breed, battle, and to die. Y'all ladies bear our children, y'all take care of our homes, and it's one thing when you a woman of a mature age to find your sport in your life, and also with your lifestyle being a vegan. It really contributed to the issue with you for like menopause.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. As the Dr. Lobo pointed out, I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't have hot flashes. I didn't experience weight gain. But yet, as my doctors told me, it was because of my lifestyle, because I have low body fat percentage and I do have muscle mass, and the nutrition that I put into my body, sleeping, hydration, all of the things that's necessary to alleviate symptoms versus thinking of it as automatic, you're going to have symptoms.
As it often, like I heard people like my sisters, my mother says, it's the change. You get to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know something? I actually prefer, when I grew up, I heard my mother and my auntie say, they were going through the change because that sounds softer. It sounds more feminine. It sounds less intimidating than menopause. Menopause sounds like what it is, a medical term. And what happens when we hear a medical term? We automatically think of diagnosis. And then with the diagnosis, then what comes? Well, how can we, prescribe some type of medication to deal with this diagnosis? When there are definitely lifestyle things, as my experience has shown, and as the studies, that there needs to be more research on it. That's basically what I'm saying, because the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of people is that, well, you're an exception, you're an outlier. And in any case that there's an outlier, I say study the outlier. What can we learn from the outlier?
Mm-hmm. I think like when it comes to medicine for women, and especially for Black women, for our community, we'll get overlooked more because we think with the same thing. Like I remember a few years ago, I was taking a medication and I had a allergic reaction to it. It was like Citalpril, and it tell me that Black people ain't supposed to take it. Like I was watching this episode of the show I used to watch, MASH, where we were giving this kind of a medicine to people, but they couldn't give it to people who were of Arab, Jewish, or Negro descent because they got sick. Because certain things, or even though we do share some organs and stuff like that, biology is totally different if you look at
Yes.
it.
Yes, indeed. And that's something that, we have to advocate for ourselves. That's where the Living Nation comes into play, is that, the research, the awareness, because I'm a true believer in that. My purpose here is to educate, equip, and empower. Educate people on this is what it is now. Equip you with the tools to deal with what it is, and then empower you to actually embody and live it.
I gotta expect you that. Here's just a younger picture of her. Yeah. Ooh.
Yes,
Uh,
I was 17.
mm. Now, you're minor. Dang, I can't. But yeah, but here she is now. And she is a
Yes,
lovely
that's now.
lady. Yeah, she, and as my other guy would say, she is beautiful. But yeah, it's good that you found something in your process as a bodybuilder. Helps you with with your training, your regiment, everything involved with the dieting. That's one thing people think about that with bodybuilding. Again, goes back to the issue of using performance enhancers, but you're doing naturally. And it does take a little longer. Like your training is, it's going to be different compared to someone who's like a little more enhanced. But still, I think right now the NPC IBB is really going more towards the natural. Just had last month we had a pro qualifier in Pittsburgh for natural competitors. There's a show also in Virginia, which is the Ben Weider Classic, which is a natural show, and there's also some natural, Olympia and pro qualifiers.
Correct. Yes.
I think really because of the stigma when the use of steroids. But here's the thing: steroids is used only as the process of recovery. It's not, some people do abuse it like anything. It can be easy abuse, but it's always gonna. That's one thing about bodybuilding. It's always gonna get that stink eye when you see it, and also about in every other sport. And I've done content in MMA. I've heard MMA fighters who use it. Years ago we had a whole thing with Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and them. But those guys are baseball players. They're getting paid millions. They can do whatever they want, and go back to the Olympics and stuff like that. But like I said, the process of natural bodybuilding again is a process of time and management.
Correct. And I don't compete in the natural divisions. I compete on the mainstream divisions. And again, that goes back to my competitive nature, because I know I have the genetics, I know I have the coaching, and I know I got the face card and the body for it. So it's just a matter of putting that whole package together for me to become an IFBB pro.
She said she got the body. Yeah, I've seen the pictures. She's walking on the beach.
Listen, when the Minceys and the Ropers came together, my father, the Mincey, my mother, the Roper, when they came together, that was a wonderful thing, because now it's passed down to the generation. We can see the evidence of it, because my ex-husband, he played basketball. And my children grew up. We always had our own gym in the house. So my children grew up in that, and my two younger children are both trainers. My son, in natural, people look at him and they're like, "You're not on anything?" He's like, "No." I'm like, he doesn't need to be. He got the genes for it. It's in the DNA.
Well, I had that good luck. My mother, she was a Miles Page. My daddy was a Heinz MacArthur. They gave me two things: pre-diabetes and a bad heart. I got a pacemaker, had for 12 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I was 39 when I had my first heart attack. I was at work. I thought I was getting a cold, but and also I wasn't take care of myself, because I'm rural country. We worked. We worked. My family was sharecroppers. We worked the fields, worked farms. We only time you go to the doctor unless you want to have a baby or you're gonna fall apart sick. But for a good while, I was taking care of my mom, and she was sick for a long time. She had dealt with seizures. She was pre-diabetic. She had early stage dementia. And then I was at almost 500 pounds. And then I started, I got to check my chef. So I cut out certain things. I don't drink milk. I don't do sodas. I try to drink more water. I do exercises. Sometimes can't do as much because I got two bad knees, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I've done pretty well. I was just maybe 10 pounds from 500. Now I'm right around 416. And it does take time, because again, for Madam, food is it's a beautiful thing. It's something that it's addictive. We like, especially us Black folk. We love our especially from the South. We love our meats, we love our sweets, we love that. It's like, you remember movie New Jack City with Pookie, be like, calling my name, man, be calling me, be calling me, be calling my name, man. You're so hard, you're just, it's hard to break away from it.
Well, that's one thing where I always kind of, again, that's where I was always an outlier, because to me, food was fuel. That was it. It was not, if anything, my off days are Sundays. Okay. That's my rest days. It's difficult for me to eat on Sundays because I'm programmed to eat according to my workouts. So if I'm not working out, that means that I don't do the pre-workout 100 grams of jasmine rice with 14 cashews and 1 tablespoon of honey. Okay, so I'm really routine oriented, but it's not in a mechanical way. This is how I flow through my life. So, and as an example, when I was a little girl, you know how your parents would make you sit at the table to eat all of your vegetables? I was the reverse. I would eat all of that's why my parents were not surprised in 2010 when I went vegan, because it was liberating for me, because now I had a reason why I didn't want to touch the meat, because I didn't like touching meat in order to cook it. I didn't like cooking because I would have to touch the meat. I would have to touch butter. I didn't like that feel. And so as a little girl, I would eat all my vegetables and ask for seconds. And then my dad was like, oh, you better eat all that meat off the chicken bone. But what I saw, the closer I got to the bone, was, the purple marrow. I knew that was cooked blood. Okay. And those strings, I knew that those strings were, they're ligaments. So I didn't want to eat that.
I can't say the same. I didn't want to eat my peas. I eat my chicken. I eat my pork chop. I eat my peas. I used to remember the lady. She used to call me the meat man. I call her Sweet Lady. She was a friend of my mother's. But yeah, my family, like I said, we grew up country. We had to, I had family that raised hogs and chickens, and we eat those. True story. This is a story my older sister told me. My sister Betty. She told me a story how when you were little, my father's son, my older brother Carlton, he brought a pig over, a little runt. And my sister Betty, my sister Jean, my sister Mary, and my brother James, they raised that little pig up to a full hog. Well, one day he come back from school, and they wondering what, I forgot the pig's name. What happened to the pig? So they're eating, and then they asked Mom and Daddy what happened to the pig, and Mom said, "Well, you eating them." My sister said she can eat for 6 months.
And it's funny. You saw me go like this, right?
Yeah.
Because I was probably about 5 years old, and my dad is from Statesboro, Georgia. So we would go to Georgia for like Christmas, okay? And it was the tradition that you killed a hog okay? Well, I thought the hogs were the pets, okay? And when everybody's gathered around my grandmother's house for this ceremonial, and my dad had this shotgun, and I'm like, and I saw the hog, and I'm like, I went ballistic. They had to take me away, because I was like, you're not gonna kill this. Like, oh no. Mm-mm. Yeah.
Hey,
So
we
again,
hey.
it was if anything, my parents were like, yeah, it's no biggie. She never liked eating meat anyway. She never liked that stuff. So they didn't give me a hard time, but it can be, in the South, it can be quite challenging, to get a good vegan meal, but it's getting better. It is definitely getting better. Yes.
Taking time. Like I said, we're a little slow down here, man, but we take our time. Excuse me, I put my old man glasses. I got some people asking questions here. He says,
okay.
My man No Doses says, he shot to my man No Doses says, hi. Also, he likes to ask you questions. What's Danielle's best score in competing?
My best score, I don't remember the number, but I did get runner-up, and that came really close to getting my pro card last year at the Masters Nationals in Pittsburgh. So that's how close I came. I've been runner-up several times. So that's the reason why we keep on working.
Mhm. Also, he says this. He has another question. He says this. He says, since when she started competing? Well, you said, was it about how long since she's been competing?
Well, I like to use 2 dates. I started in 2014, no coaching, no knowledge of nutrition, but I got serious about it in 2023. My first coach was a woman in Jacksonville, Florida, Heather Marie Ping, and we worked, and that's when I won best presentation at the World Vegan Bodybuilding Championships in 2023. And then I got with Calvin December of 2024, and it's only been up since then. So if you look at the dates, because from 2014, let's see, I competed in, oh, I forgot. I got third in a world bodybuilding show in Dubai back in 2015. And then I didn't, well, it's interesting. I didn't place in the 2022 Mr. and Miss Puerto Vallarta in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, because it was all in Spanish. And your girl did not. So that was interesting because it was only when I was on my way the morning of the show that it dawned on me. You do know that you're in Mexico. You do know that this is a local show. I mean, it's regional, but it's local. It's not like a show of, international people. It's a Mexican show. And then when I get there, they didn't have a master's division. So they put me with the 18 to 23-year-olds, but I held my own. Okay. Because I didn't like I said, I didn't understand the instructions. So I was like a split second behind everybody else. So when they said, like face front, I'm like, and then I do it with a dramatic flair because I'm like, I don't understand a word they're saying, but guess what? I'm going to do it anyway. Let me just add my little spice to it. So yes, since 2014, I jumped on the stage, and I don't see myself retiring anytime soon.
Man, you do it. You fake it till you make it. So, also, my man has a question. He goes like this. Shai says, who is her role model in competing? Like, is there anybody you really pay attention to the sport that you admire their overall their work, their aesthetics as a bodybuilder?
Oh yes, my posing coach, Vanya. Okay, Vanya Auguste. She's Haitian American, and she won the 2024. I want to say she won
2025 on the
Yes.
classic. Yeah,
yes.
I talked about that. I would love to interview your coach. I mean, that's something a sister, especially Haitian sisters, to win a show like the Arnold. That's like lady I know recently did also that same year. She did something really spectacular. Her name is Marika Jones. She just competed at Omaha. She did 2 shows with under 24-hour period. And that's something you rarely ever see. Marika, shout out to her. I mean, I was shooting for her for the Omaha Pro, but whatever circumstances,
What's her
bullshit, whatever.
Is she bikini?
Or women's physique.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was something you rarely ever see somebody do 2 shows in one time, but one person especially doing this content and following the sports longer. There's so many ladies, but there's one lady that really sticks out for me. I'm a fan of her. She's so beautiful, so amazing. And she's the current Miss Olympia champion. That is Andrea Shaw. I think she's just amazing. I'm a big fan of hers. She's just so beautiful. I'm gonna tell you this quick story, and I always bring it out because I want to give a shout out to my dear friend. Her name is Eunice. She runs a company called Bad Rap. She's a lady like herself. She's in her 60s. Amazing lady. She's a physique competitor, been competing in bodybuilding since the 80s and took a step back and came back. Eunice runs a company called Bad Rap. She sent me this hat when I ordered some stuff. It's a really cool hat. I got 2 of them. She gave me one. I was at Tampa. And when I was there, was it about a few years ago, it was a little bit after my birthday. She went to Olympia when they had it in the Orlando. And she got me this issue of Muscle Development with Andrea on it. Nice. And I love this because it's not just the fact that this is like the last hard copy of, and the only few, I got a bunch of issues back in there, but not too many have women on the cover, especially female women bodybuilders. But what makes it so special for me, she ran into Andrea, and Andrea, she signed it. Yes, I got a friend. He be saying like she probably faked it, and she said that's her. And people told me I noticed that's her sign. That's her sign. Nice. So and it's just great when people like her appreciate what I'm doing, and also appreciate what she's doing for her
Right.
sport.
Right.
And again, it's like this is a sport where women, other than maybe if you're in like a division like bikini or wellness is a very popular division because you're in Brazil where it
Correct.
really sprung from. And I think that's why he's so dominant because those women have those Afro aesthetics. They're a little more heavier in the bottom, have more of the roundness, the thickness. That's why I think it's a lot harder, particularly if you don't have those aesthetics to do well in wellness.
Correct. Yes. I like the way that my body composition is lean. It does not take long, for me to lean out. If anything, in order to keep the fullness, like coach will like peak week, and especially leading up to a show, I have to get up early in the morning, weigh myself, then I have to send him a picture of what I'm looking like. And then based off of what I'm looking like, that means this is what you're going to eat. Okay. And yes, call me weird. I love rice cakes. Okay.
Weird.
I love rice cakes. And
Weird.
The funny thing was at the Arnold, after prejudging, it was like, okay, let's eat. And he said, you can have half of a plant burger. Okay. No, it wasn't. It was half of a plant burger. And he said I could have French fries. I was like, what? French fries?
French
he
fries.
He said, yes, you can eat. But he even measured out the French fries because my brain was like, I haven't eaten French fries in so long. Okay. And, so that was that they laughed at me because I was afraid to eat the French fries because even though prejudging is when they pretty much, come on, prejudging that's when you know who's going to win. Right. Yeah. So I didn't want to mess up anything going into finals, but I trust him. So I ate my 10 French fries. And the half
10
of
French fries.
Yes.
10 French fries. He say, hey, can we supersize it? So
yeah.
Can we have at least 5 more French fries to it? That's the thing is that food is both a tool and a weapon in development of the bodybuilder. And you have to be smart of how you eat it. You just and also again you go back to the vegan because you have to be very clean in your dietary supplements.
Yes.
You have to for one thing, you can't have any kind of animal fats. You can't even use like if you cook, we have to cook like with vegetable oil. And that's
and I bake. I pretty much bake and broil everything. I wasn't really big on frying stuff anyway. So what we do is Monday through Thursday. Sunday through Thursday. My dinner is 120 grams of stir-fried vegetables, 2 rice cakes with a tablespoon of olive oil, and then some MCT oil that I put in some tea before I go to bed. So yeah, that's.
You got to keep account of your macros too, don't you?
Yes. Well, I leave all that up to Calvin. He sends me, I call him the scientist. He is, because he gets this intensity, okay, especially like at the shows. He gets this intensity, and we laugh about how I wait for his feedback with my check-ins, my weekly check-ins. I wait for his feedback like I'm waiting for a final exam grade. I do.
Teacher.
Yes, I do. But that's because, I respect his craft. I respect that he knows what he's doing. Okay. I know how to coach track runners. Okay. Sprinters and all of that. I know how to develop fitness plans for people who want to release weight. I don't use lose because the brain goes into finding when you say you're going to lose weight. That's the reason why people yo-yo. That's my little plug. But, I can develop plans to help people release weight and, incorporate strength training into their lifestyle. But when it comes to bodybuilding and myself, I don't want to coach myself. That's what he's for. That's what, I want to go with somebody who is an elite level coach, who knows what he's doing, and who is committed to making sure that his athletes are in the best condition and do the best presentation. each time they hit the stage.
Whereas my other guy says, "Doctor, I don't have a plan. I'm just a dog chasing cars. I don't know when I get one, but that's your coach has a good plan for you, and that's good to have a good relationship with your coach because But also, you have to be your own advocate too. But sometimes
Yes.
it's you have to know what's best for you. They might know what's best for you, but sometimes you know your own body.
Yes.
We have here a comment from our man, shout out to our man, No Dose says, "What is her daily routine like?" So what's routine for you during the week when you're training, when you're getting
Okay.
working out?
I wake up at 5:30 every day, 7 days a week. I stretch. I do yoga. I do Pilates. If it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, I will then do fasted cardio for 35 minutes. But on Mondays and Thursdays, that's my HIIT and light legs and glutes. So after breakfast, probably about an hour and a half later, depending on what time, because my lunch is meal two rather is between 10 and 11 a.m. And that's what I was describing. That's when I do the tofu, 110 grams of tofu, 80 grams of vegetables, 40 grams of avocado. I eat that. And then about 30 minutes before I plan to go work out, I'll do the 100 grams of jasmine rice with 1 tablespoon of honey and 14 cashews. Okay, so then I go work out. Mondays, like I said, Mondays and Thursdays are HIIT and light glutes and legs. Tuesdays and Fridays are upper body. And then Wednesdays and Saturdays are my heavy leg days. And then again, and then afterwards, each workout, 15 minutes on the stairs. So level 5 too, level 5.
Okay. I couldn't do those stairs, master. My knees be like, "Nigga, get up!" I'd be like, "Ugh." Like I try. I used to go to Planet Fitness. I used to go on to the Stairmaster. I do the bike so better, easier on my knees.
Yeah.
But I look at that Stairmaster. I said, "No, I can't do that. That's like climbing stairs." One time I visited my niece, my oldest niece, and she had a house like a 2-story, and I'd stay in the bed and stay at and I'm like, yeah, I lived in a 1-story house most of my life, but I got used to it. But also, yeah, it's good, the regiment in the training, and you're also understanding the factors what goes to the athlete. Like doing your training, which is the ones that is your favorite. I want to say, I know I love doing the day, and I want to say, shit, why I gotta do this? I don't want to do this.
You know what? I was thinking about this yesterday during my heavy legs. It's something about the most challenging that I really like. And I'm going to say the reason why I like it is because each time I complete it, I feel a sense of, yay, I did it. I did it. And that would be Bulgarian split squats. Okay. It's like doing Bulgarian split squats. And especially because I do it with 2 25-pound dumbbells. Okay. So doing those split squats, and don't get me wrong, it is challenging, but there's something about the focus of doing, the focus on the form and the breath. It turns into meditation for me. So, and everybody knows. I mean, I go into the gym and I exhale like, finally, I'm in my sanctuary, because I go into my own zone. I'm not the social person in the gym. I'm old school. I handwrite in my notebook my workouts. Okay. So people know, you see her, she has that notebook open. She is marking off each set, each rep. When she's done, she goes. Okay. That's my office, and I go there to get my work done.
Yeah. I remember a while back, an interview lady, she just turned pro right after being a muscle fest, and she's a Bulgarian, and she loves Bulgarian split squats. She was actually, her and another lady who was a wellness competitor, a Puerto Rican wellness competitor, were doing, so we doing a Bulgarian and a Puerto Rican doing split squats together. I laughed because anytime when somebody tell me, say, I love leg day, I say, you're a sick Mexican freak. I mean, what's wrong with you? I mean, but I think it's true that if you work on your strengths, as much as your weaknesses. You want to make those foods, especially in a division like wellness. I'm not sorry, bikini, where you need that nice connection. You don't want too much around cap to your shoulders. You don't want too much gyrations. You want that fine line where everything comes together, but you don't want to overindulge on it.
Correct. You want the right amount of definition. It's like you want to hit the sweet spot. Like, a lot of people, in the gym, in your commercial gyms, a lot of the ladies are not bodybuilders. So they don't focus so much on the arms. Whereas I'm looking, on my upper body day, I'm looking in the mirror like, ooh, look at my shoulders. Y'all looking good, Yes. So, the aspects of the body, seeing the body develop, how I feel, afterwards, because strength training is great for your emotions. It is great for moving through, I don't have control over anything external to me, but that is my time. That is where I have control. So when I go to the gym, even on days I may not, quote unquote, feel like it, it's not an option, because I know that if I don't go, I will feel worse. So that's the way I lift my spirits.
And that's where the part discipline comes in, because
Yes.
motivation can change from one day to another. Discipline is a more important part of being a bodybuilder, being consistent, being disciplined, being determined. Because sometimes the everyday person, that's why I think one thing about bodybuilding, everyday person doesn't want to make put in that investment, that time. Because when I get at 5 o'clock, when I used to work at jobs, I get up and go to work and come home. When I used to lift weights, was in high school. I used to love lifting weights because I was one of the strongest guys on my team. Because by the time I was like 17, I was already bench pressing 350. I was squatting 550. Some guys said, "Man, George, you cock strong." Coach anomaly of it. And it was just something you enjoy. But then you get to the real world where you don't have that time. It's hard to find the time to. Like, I'm doing some stuff right now because I'm planning on going on a trip and I want to be in a better shape because I move around a little bit. I'm doing little stuff like some stuff with barbells, some cardio stuff, and also try to work on my diet, because that's a tough part about it. Again, it goes back to the temptation of the world, summer's coming around here in the States. It won't be enough. It will be about another month to things like we have 4th of July coming up, and you have barbecues to start, especially in the South. And that's just the hard part. And you don't eat meat. I eat your plate if you don't mind. So,
well, you know what? And if there's anything that I would tell people, it is time is relative. Okay. And if you can devote time to your employer, to your family, then your first priority is to devote the time to yourself, which is why I get up at 5:30 in the morning. And, back 20 years ago, I was a professor at Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Okay. I lived in Columbia, South Carolina, which that one way, that was about an hour and a half drive. My first semester, the dean scheduled me to teach classes at 7 a.m. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. so that I could do my workout and be at work by 7. Because my first commitment, and that's just me, okay, is that if I don't prioritize myself, I am of no use to my family. Like, my children were so conditioned about me and my workouts that I can remember, my middle daughter, who's going to be 34 soon, if I get in a mood, they're like, "Did mom have her workout today?" Okay. So I can remember her coming to me at like 3 years old, said, "Mommy, did you work out today?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't." "Mommy, you need your workout." Okay. So, and my grandson, as an infant, he recognized Mimi needs to work out. Mimi pulls out pull out my mat for yoga, and it's a done deal. And my children, they grew up with that. And I think that is something that more people need to understand. We only get one life. We only have one body. Okay. And the quality of our life is going to depend upon how we treat our bodies. What are we putting in our mouths? I know that food, we can get into a whole discourse on how food is addictive because of preservatives. Okay. And additives to the food to make people, and you look at the portion size, when you go to restaurants, those portion sizes could last you for at least 2 to 3 days, and they give you that in one plate. So it becomes a matter of being intentional about your nutrition, being intentional about your self, because to me, working out, my nutrition, that's my self-care. Self-care is not just going to a spa for me. It is every day. So I would say prioritize your self-care, because again, you get one life. That's it.
Yeah, like you go to a restaurant, don't get the corn, get the broccoli. Don't get the fried chicken, get the baked chicken. I know you're looking at that rice, maybe a little bit of rice, and and
Correct.
I know here in the South we love our sweet tea. Get some water and lemon. That's a lot better. But every now and that sweet tea be hitting. I mean, one time I went to Florida, this is where my sister, my nephews. I got some tea, and I didn't realize we go some places they don't put sugar in their tea. It was like I had to put 300 because
What? I don't even know why. I don't even know why y'all call it sweet tea. Just call it syrup. Okay.
It's a good tasting syrup, but this they make tea now with it doesn't have zero sugar. It just, as you know, I'm an older gentleman of the South, so it takes a while to get used to it. It takes a while to break those those traditional habits that you learn from coming up. But you know what? Sometimes this is what I learned from these interviews relays and this content, and also when I talk to you, you have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to learn to be pulling yourself out of something that is not something out of the norm. Like when I went to my first Bible show, and that was 2022, it was an experience for me. And doing this content, talk to you ladies, I learned some stuff where if she can do it, she's like, a decade older than I am, but still, I met a gentleman when I was in Tampa. He's 65 years old. He competes in classic and men's and men's bikini, aka men's physique. And I gotta give respect. He goes, I thought he was about my age, but he was older than me. And you know what? I think if someone like I've interviewed a lady who turned pro at 74 years old, and she competed back also in the 80s and came back, competed, then did one more time as a get a pro card, and then turn to pro. And that's the thing is, I think it has to be about making those changes and willing to accept that it's a life change. But again, people are always going to have their thing like, what, I can't, because it's hard to break away from those traditions and habits.
It can be difficult, but then you have to ask yourself, what is more difficult? Is it just a matter because it's unfamiliar? Is the familiar comfortable? Is it really comfortable? Because if it's causing you to have health issues, that's not comfort. That's leading to a deteriorating, quality of life. And, who wants to actually suffer while living?
Yeah. And also bodybuilding it's an expensive sport.
Yes.
To compete, because especially I'd say the guys have their expenses getting ready for a show. But when it comes to show day, this guy put on a pair of Banana Hampton boy shorts. You ladies, you have your expense, your hair, your makeup, your suits, signing in, the shoes,
the jewelry, travel. For me, travel is probably the biggest expense.
And also, you said you were a sponsored athlete.
I'm an ambassador for Angel Competition Bikinis, which means I get a percentage off, and other people who use my link also get a percentage off. And, that is something that I want to expand upon, is linking with plant-based brands who have not looked at bodybuilding as a market, as a demographic of their market.
Well, I interviewed a couple of young ladies. They both compete also as vegan competitors. And again, it goes back, we were talking earlier how she explains to me that the idea that there's no substitute to meat-based products is an illusion. It's a story. But like I said, a lot of people, because you can think about bodybuilding is very old school regimental ideal, like you go back to, like, you remember the Rocky movies, Rocky cracks the eggs and, Adrian, when you see guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger and pumping iron, when he's eating, a lot of meat. It's hard to break those traditions where, but it does, in a way, you go plant-based, it saves you a few bucks. You don't have to, tofu's not as much as chicken or beef.
No.
I mean, it's a lot cheaper. And you can go to, like, I'm from the country. You can go to local farmers, a country store, and vegetables at a reasonable rate. We just got to be willing to shop around. But like I said again, it goes back to trying to break traditional habits and society views of what is about eating.
Correct. Very much so. And it's interesting that you say that because I had to get used to eating tofu because I was pretty much just all vegetables, nuts, and seeds. If you left it up to me, I'd be like, can I just eat some more cashews or some more, and it's like, no, you need the and if I have to choose between tofu and tempeh, I'm going to go with tempeh because I like the texture of it. But I do my tofu.
You gotta get used to it. This thing. So and you know what? I would feel like this. You gotta respect anybody who does a sport. The consistency involved in the discipline is hard, and staying also to understand the factors of what it is to take to grow as a bodybuilder, and the cost and everything is because this is seen as a hobby sport. As you know, back in the day, I used to remember watching bodybuilding on television. Now you don't see it too much anymore.
Right.
You see things like cornhole, and a friend of mine, he was on
the whole slapping of the face thing. I'm like, what?
That's kind of popular. Actually, they have it. They have it at the Arnold. I remember there's a video of Arnold sitting and watching it, and Arnold's eyes wide open. I mean, I think it's just because again, go back. It's a fringe sport, but it's kind of grown. There's going to be a show in Brazil. That's a bodybuilding show. They just added women's bodybuilding this year. This show in Mexico. It's a Olympic qualifier.
Okay.
They added women's bodybuilding, and places like Romania. You compete in Dubai. I kind of feel that Dubai is very traditional Islamic.
Dubai was interesting because I was supposed to be in a show in 2016, and I'm gonna say probably about less than 48 hours before the show, we get a WhatsApp message saying that no men can come during the ladies competition. And it's like, but what about the judges? Who's going to be the judges then? So that was a whole thing because the event was going to be held the previous year. It was held out at the sports city. Okay. So it was outdoors. It wasn't within, a government building. They moved it to the convention center, which is a government building, which, Dubai is an Islamic country. It's a Muslim country. So therefore, those traditional laws are in place. Okay. So that show wound up not having I'm going to say it didn't have the turnout that it had as the previous show in 2015.
Mm-hmm. That's the problem is because many of the people, like one thing about bodybuilding, the majority of the fan base is men. Men
Yes.
go watch, and more like this is the thing about it that it's a little bit gay because there's more guys going to watch. Me personally, man, it may not be the age, but I'm down with the ladies. I've been to shows where I've seen guys, but it's just something that's not for me. I've seen guys,
Right.
I prefer ladies. But I think it goes back to those traditions of that country, and then also the mindset. Like, have your kids ever come to your shows?
No, my children have not been able to come to my shows yet. My daughter plans, my middle daughter plans to. Like my daughter, I look at her body type and, with the right conditioning and plan, my daughter could kill in wellness because she got the body, she got the legs for it. She could kill in wellness. Yeah.
That's why I love.
So that's one of my dreams is, my kids and I would compete together. My son, he would be physique. Yeah, he would be physique. And then my daughter would be wellness. And then mom would bring up, the master's bikini. We would just be we would be a dynasty,
Yeah, I've seen there's been, I think somewhere in England, there was a woman and her daughter, they competed, together,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen couples who do it, this gentleman and his wife, they competed,
Mm-hmm.
he was doing men's classic, she was doing physique.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a sport where family come together. I mean, it's nice, I know it'd be great for them to be there. Like you got your daughters and your son, your grandson there. Say, yeah, it's grandma on the stage. Wow. And so guys say, who's that tall drink of water there, boy? I'll be the daddy. No, hey, you freak. That's my mom. But again, That's the people on the outside. The rest of you who are in sport, it's not about, we don't looking at ass, you're looking at glutes, you're not looking at,
Right.
breasts, we're looking at pecs. We're,
Correct.
it's the more of the technical terms of the body parts, but us out here, man, we are more fascinated by. There's an old Smo saying, "We ladies rock hard, we'll rock hard," but it's about respecting someone's goals and they want to do this sport.
Correct.
And again, it's a sport of. It's not as lucrative if you look at it from the standpoint, like you look at, the FIBA Cup's just about to start up. That's a big soccer thing, and we just in the middle of the NBA finals right now. Shout out to New York. I got a couple friends up in New York, and their team might get a chance to win the title in over 50 years. But I wish, like any sport, it gets more recognition. But it goes back again to the issue of performance enhancing steroids.
Yes.
But I wish people overlook that. It's not, again, I've had friends told me, said, George, if they don't follow the same guidelines I do and take the shit I take and don't stick to it, they're not going to look like me. They look like melted ice cream.
And that's, and that's something that I, coming from the traditional side of sports, where performance enhancing drugs get you disqualified, get you banned from the sport. Okay. And I want to say that was one of the reasons why I was drawn to bodybuilding, but the aspect of taking performance enhancing drugs in order to win, that just goes against my mindset. Because to me, I win because I put in the work and I have the body for it, and I have developed the muscularity for it, because I believe the body is capable. But again, when you're talking about massive size, yes, that massive size is not possible without performance enhancing drugs.
Mm-hmm. Well, just a while back, they did, I think a couple of weeks ago, did all enhanced Olympics.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was a disaster because it was only one person that broke a record, but they realized it's like you talk about what Barry Bonds was. Well, if Barry Bonds was using, he was tested and never found out. It's not about what you take to make you hit that ball. It's natural talent. If you
Correct.
have a natural talent, it doesn't matter what drugs you take. You take it because of recovery. You take it because you need it because it helps you. There's so many things involved, from rest to recovery to exercises to training to going to get a massage to sleep. That's all the factors involved as an athlete as you develop and grow. It doesn't come in a magical pill. If it did, everybody be taking it.
An injection or anything like that. It doesn't come from the injection. It doesn't come from any of that. Yes, that may speed up the process, but at what cost?
Yeah, because they often talk about, we just had a young man, 22 years old from Brazil, who died, and that was surprising. I mean, 22. What was it at 22? What was I was doing? I was working, living with my mom, doing
I was
things.
having my first child at 22, so that would have been definitely catastrophic. Okay.
Yeah. It's just, I think we saw the young generation. They want everything quick, fast, in a hurry, but it doesn't work like that. It takes time. You need to slow the process, enjoy that part of your life. And then when you're ready, get into something that you're really committed to. You have to be committed to something, and, don't be so distracted by what this person doing, what that person doing. Go within your own lane. You truly, what I've learned, that your competition is not this person beside you, it's you.
Yes, you are your own competition. And that is something that we've seen over time, where people who, want that or need or think they need instant gratification, they're the ones who suffer from really low self-esteem. They suffer from low self-esteem because they don't know what is possible. Because they haven't tried to see just how they can actually overcome the inadequacy that they feel within themselves.
Mm-hmm. And there's one thing that's important about mental health, especially in sports, because for America, we're probably not the best when it comes to mental health. It's just something we need to work out, especially in our community. We see it like, oh, that's white people, probably not us, but we are humans. Humans, our mind, if it's like this, if the mind's not willing, the body will not follow.
Correct.
So you have to take care of this first before everything else. You have to get yourself right here.
And the body speaks to us, and the body will let you know, where, like, for instance, if someone develops stomach ulcers, well, the emotional cause that leads to stomach ulcers is worry, because we hold worry in our stomachs. Anger is held there. If you have resentment, you're going to have hip issues. So the body stores our emotions, whether we express them or not. So yeah, it is very important. And then you look at the diseases, especially in our community, you look at the diseases that people die or have less than, the best quality of life from. They are lifestyle diseases. Hypertension is one, what causes hypertension? They can give you the technicals of it. High blood pressure. What causes your blood pressure to go high? What causes your blood pressure to stay high? That's always going to go back to repressed, suppressed emotions.
Yeah. The thing is, but like we have to. I learned this. I had to get out of my own way.
Yes.
Because that thing is, I think people get too comfortable in what they want to do, and we have to learn to get out of our own way. We have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable and making those decisions that may be better for us. But again, try to break away from traditions, and that's again, correct. It's hard to do. So, folks, we're not going to hold Doctor too much longer here. She is giving some great advice for you out there who's interested. Maybe reaching out to her. Her link in the description of this live stream. If you want to work with her, participate. She has some plans out there. It might work for you if you're interested in it. You have to be serious. I know you guys. She's a lovely lady, so behave yourself. She got kids. She got a grown son. I won't be somebody be like, hey, what you do about my mom, man? What my mom? Because as boys, like I said, my mother, that was my woman, and when she left, I felt like I lost. Like I had relations, not relationships. My mother, we used to hang out and do things together. That was my woman. And, I miss her every day. It's going to be 6 years at the end of this month since she passed. And I think it's good to have those relationships with your family as long as you can. I got 2 older sisters. I got a younger brother. We don't talk too much. He's, every now and then we might meet each other on social media, but we don't get to talk too much.
Right.
And it's good to have that support from your family and friends. Because generally, I talk to ladies where they got to support because the parents look them up and down and says, like mother might say, sweetheart, I don't want you to get so manly that you can't get a man, and the father might say, well, I already got a boy, I don't need another son. And and friends can change because you're doing something that's not regular, because you're doing something that's something different. I mean, I know ladies that sometimes you can't go out here, can't do this. Say, girl, we're gonna go party tonight. No, I can't go. I gotta go to sleep. I gotta get ready in the morning, work out. Because you got to make so many changes, and it's hard to make those changes where when it's just like you just can't be with the crowd like you used to.
Well, I think for me, because I was my mother's only child, okay,
lucky you.
So I did a lot on my own. I didn't wait for the crowd, okay, and my family and friends, if there's anything. If you were to ask my family to describe me, they would say, oh, she is a hippie. She's a, bohemian. And they've been saying that for as long as I can remember, because I go at the beat of my own drum, and I don't need other people to, sign on for approval. I learned probably in my late 20s that when it came down to making decisions that affected my life, it was not a consensus poll. It wasn't a matter of me asking people, what do you think if I do this? Because they're not the ones who have to live my life. I'm the one who have to live my life. And I don't want to fall back and then try to, put blame on someone. Well, you told me I shouldn't. That's not their responsibility. Their responsibility is their life. My responsibility is my life. And it's up to me to make the decisions that are best for me. Regardless of, my cousin called me last week and she was like, hey, I'm just checking in. Because, you be done moved to a whole nother continent and just post on Facebook. Yeah, I'm here. and I'm like, do I? Yeah, I do. I do that a lot. Yes, I do that.
Yeah. Well, you gotta live your life. And, it's good that she reached out because you know what, we're family out here. We have to always look out for each other, like I said. So, folks, again, I want to say thank you to the doctor. I want to thank my guests here. Also, I'm asking this question: what would you want for yourself as a bodybuilder?
I would want to know without a shadow of a doubt that when I step on stage, that I am embodying all that I've put into it. And that's what is presented. So the very best. That's what I would want.
See, that's fair. I mean, and also, it's good that she's with the Bikini Angels. That's what it is. But sponsorship does help. That does cover the
Yes.
cost, everything. She lives all the way in Brazil, but still she has to come to the States to do shows.
Yes.
So if you're someone interested in maybe sponsoring her and working with her plan, or maybe somebody who has a product company that works with plant-based. Plant-based, it can be, something like, a protein that's based on plant usage, something like that. If you feel like this is a person that can be a representative for your company, reach out to her. But not you other guys say, hey, doc, if I had this, yeah. Nah, you're sick, freak. This is what you say, Dr. White.
And especially the sizes of the protein, like the protein sizes, like I go through, oh gosh, the plant protein, like some of them are just like little packets. And I'm like, okay, so somebody like me who does 2 servings at least twice a day, this is not cost efficient. So for any brands that are looking to expand internationally, especially from the US, and you ship to Brazil or any other place I decide to go, then yes, I would love to collaborate. I would love to, spread the word that plant-based muscle is definitely good muscle and it can be built.
Yeah, I mean, like this. If I could do that, I'm saying, Doctor White, we found your interview with Mr. Alderwage very interesting. Your aspects and understanding of dieting and healthy choices, and also being natural and plant-based. We have a product that might work with you, and we want you to be our brand ambassador, and also some other people you might know. So if you feel like this is something comfortable with what we have to offer you, and if you like work with your process as a bodybuilder, we would funnily like to help you in your development. So let us know how it works for you. If it works for us, then we have a mutual relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could do that.
I know. Look, I would be like, well, let me go ahead and send you my kit, because I already have a kit design. So what you just said, you just spoke it into the atmosphere, and I claim it and receive it.
Well, here we're going to say, sign the contract, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, folks, if you're interested in Dr. White's program or plan, and she is a lovely lady. Oh, he has to say something. He says, Doctor, I want to tell you something. You are beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about him. I'm seeing a specialist. We're trying to merge our personalities together, but but you can wait for me. So but we're not gonna hold too much longer. I want to thank my guests, No Dose, other guys who watch this, who follow my channel, follow, subscribe, reach out to Dr. White. You have anybody you want to give a shout out to before I let you go?
I want to give a shout out to my children, Dana, Destiny, and Patrick, my grandson, Britton, Coach Calvin, Coach Vanya, and all my family and friends across the world.
Well, that's great, ma'am. Again, folks, this is a nice lady, and she is a doctor. Be respectful. Reach out in genuine interest and support. And I know you guys out there. I know she's not the big muscular type you like me to watch, but she's a nice lady, And just show respect, because this is, again, bodybuilding for a woman, it's a tough sport. It's a lot to do, a lot of sacrifice, time, investment into yourself. And if you're someone who has a product or something that works within her process, reach out in genuine interest. She's happy to get it. And also, if somebody interested, maybe making some life changes, going to a plant vegan diet. I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. Again.
I also offer family reunion fitness plans where I would come in. Yes, we're family reunions, and the workouts are structured. They're 90-minute segments during that weekend, and so from ages 4 up to 85, work with them. So the idea is for your family to leave healthy after being in community together. So that's something that not only did you go to the family reunion and get a free t-shirt, but you also got a customized workout plan, as well as how to do the workout during that weekend. So Yes.
I know my family said, hell no, boy, we ain't hell no, I ain't trying to. My sister just turned 68, and and my
Okay.
other sister, yeah, she said, hell no, and also my sister Betty, she is a survivor of leukemia. I gotta give a shout out to my big sister. She was, because I was like the next to the youngest. I had my younger brother, and because when we were growing up, people thought she was my mother because my two older
The
nephews
age
were just
difference.
the age difference.
Yes.
Because my mother said like this: when she had her, she was 16. And when she had me and my brother, she was in her 30s. And people would say, like, my sister would say, you were too young to have the first one and too old to have the last one. So,
Well, actually,
yeah.
in their 30s, that's not too old.
Well, ways from around here,
Back then.
you got married by the time you were able to walk around, and you had babies, and you worked the farm, you worked the land, so
Yep.
things have changed, now, but that's how it is, special tradition. So, ma'am, I'd like to thank Dr. Danielle Mincey White for coming through and sharing her story. Wish her best of luck. So, what's the plan for this year? You say you thinking about competing?
Yes, I'm thinking about competing. I'm actually in competition prep now. I was expecting to do the Masters Nationals July 18th. However, I'm going through the visa process here in Brazil, and my ID card has not arrived yet, so I have to wait for my travel. But it's just a matter of, it's been printed. It's just not for me. It just hasn't been communicated to when I can go and pick it up. So when I sent in my check-ins today, I said to Calvin that I'm looking at shows for the latter part of the year. So sometime, hopefully between September and December, I'll find a qualifying show and we make it do what it do. But I'm still training. I'm still meal prepping, still drinking my water, getting my 7 to 9 hours of sleep at night. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, with there's North America's you've done before. There's also Masters USA's, and also in Virginia there is the Ben Weeder. It's a natural pro qualifier.
Right.
And that's, I think, in November. There's quite a few options. You see back in the day.
Thing about the natural division is because I haven't competed in natural, I would have to actually do like a whole switch over, because it's not like they don't cross over.
Well, his thing is, you have done North Americans. You are nationally qualified.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it was natural or not. It's still conceived as a national qualifier. The natural stuff is just because they want to expand more out to more competitors. Because I've seen ladies who got their pro card, who got their Olympic qualification at natural shows for the Olympia. But like I said, you are national qualified, and as long as you can find a show that is a national qualifier, which is a pro qualifier, it doesn't matter if you're natural or not. Again, I've interviewed ladies who got the pro card. Yeah. It's again, ma'am. It's again, my master Raza Guladini has taught me: beware surrounds all time, young Master Wayne. Never give your foot for killings below.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, also from one of my favorite movies, Batman Begins. You never have to. That's why I do this. I want to be informative and also entertaining. So, folks, if you want to follow the lovely doctor here, the links are in here in the description of the live stream. Reach out in genuine interest. Don't be that weird guy. I know she's a lovely chocolate sister, but guys, come on, behave yourself. Anyway, enjoy the rest of y'all week. Shout out, we have a show coming up, which is the Toronto Super Show, which will be the first show for women's bodybuilding for the season. As you know, that's my show. That's my division. I love women's bodybuilding, so it's great to have that because it's been kind of a dry spot for the last few weeks. And also shout out to the competitors from this weekend who won, and also get ready, folks. She'll be coming. The doctor's coming. She's coming. She's gonna break backs. That's
right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. So, folks, again, thank you for Dr. White coming through. Thank y'all for coming through, my guests. Appreciate y'all support. This is Mallory George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk. Don't like, subscribe. Good night, good luck, God bless, and see you next time. And have a happy rest of your Sunday.